Hello students, welcome to my channel Learning History Made Easy. In today's video, we'll be continuing with the Political Science series. Before going into the video, if anyone is seeing the channel for the first time or if you have not subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe and share it with your friends, and also click the bell button to receive notifications whenever I upload new videos. So without wasting time, let us get into today's video. Today's video is about the methods of election. Okay, so today's topic is methods of election. Methods of election. So regarding the different methods of election, a modern democratic system has adopted two methods of election. So basically, in a modern democratic system, there are two methods of election. One is direct election, and second is indirect election. So considering a modern democratic system, we have two different types of election, that is direct election and indirect election. Now one by one, let us see, that is, what is direct election? In this system, that is in the system of direct election, all the eligible voters of the nation directly elect their representatives. So here all eligible voters elect their representatives through secret ballot, that is secret ballot system. So direct system, it is a very simple thing. All the eligible voters of a nation, they elect their representatives, and this election is through secret ballot system. So there are no intermediaries, there are no person in between that is directly a person of a nation elect their representatives, and that representative is elected based on a secret ballot system. That is direct election. And here in direct election, voters, what they do is they go to the polling station and they cast their vote, and that is in secret ballot system. They exercise their franchise, that is they cast their vote through secret ballot system. So in which all situations do we have this direct election? That is, example, election for Lok Sabha, then Vidhana Sabha in India, then in House of Commons in UK, House of Commons in UK. In all these places, direct election happens. That is, all the eligible voters of the nation directly elect their representatives through secret ballot system, that is without any intermediaries. That is the system of direct election, and it happens in Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha, House of Commons in UK, etc. In all these situations, direct election happen. Now next, let us move towards the features of direct election. So when you say direct election, it has some special features. What are the features of direct election? So let us see one by one the features. The first feature is direct election is more democratic. Okay, that is, it is more democratic. That means in direct election, the voters have a wider choice. Okay, there are no intermediaries. So voters have a wider choice. They can elect their representatives directly. It is direct. So voters have a wider choice. It provides a direct relationship between the voter and their representative. So voter and representative have a direct relationship in this direct election. So because of this, we can say that direct election is more democratic. Now what the second feature is, direct election is more responsive. Why is it more responsive? We said that there is a direct relationship between voters and representatives. okay, representative. Because of this, these representatives are more responsive to the needs of the voters. So voters and representatives have a direct relationship. Because of this, when voters have a need, these representatives are more responsive towards their needs. So that is the second feature of direct election. So that is direct election, they are more democratic. And second, we can say that in direct election, because there is a relationship between voter and representative, we can say it is more a kind of responsive relationship. That is the second feature. Now the third feature of direct election is it creates political awareness, creates political awareness. Direct election creates political awareness. So in direct election, voters gather information. Voters have a relationship between towards representatives, and voters, they gather information or they get information about their representative through the different, we can tell, mass media is there, print media is there, print media, mass media, etc. They gather information about the political party from which this representative come, political party, or also about the candidate also they gather information. So because of this, people get a political awareness. So there is a relationship between voter and representative. Because of this, voter gather information about their representatives through mass media, print media, etc. And also they get information about the political party and the candidate, okay, and the manifesto of the political party. So because of all these, it creates a political awareness. So that is the third feature of direct election. Now, the fourth feature is selection of eligible candidates. Eligible candidates. So the voters test the capacity and capability of the candidate. So candidates' capability and their capacities are seen first, okay, and then finally eligible candidate is elected, okay, finally eligible candidate. So they just first they choose between different candidates, they see the capability of the candidate, the capacity of the candidate, and finally the voter decides whom to choose. So finally an eligible candidate is being elected. So selection of eligible candidates is the fourth feature of direct election. Now the fifth feature of direct election is, let us see the fifth feature. The fifth feature is public relationship. Fifth feature is public relationship. Okay. So in view of forthcoming elections, so when elections are coming, representatives keep regular contact with the constituency and people. So when an election is coming, the representatives keep a direct contact with the people, because if they keep contact with the people only, then people will come to know about them, and then only proper selection will happen. So in view of the forthcoming election, representatives, they keep a direct contact with the constituency and also with the people, and because of this there is a public relationship. So all these are the features of direct elections. So that is what in direct election, there is a direct relationship between the voter and their representative. Now before going to the next topic, that is indirect election, let us just see the points which we have studied till now. Methods of election. Modern democratic system has adopted two methods of election: direct election and indirect election. Direct election. In the system, all the eligible voters of the nation directly elect their representatives through secret ballot without any intermediaries. The voters go to the polling station and exercise franchise. Example, Lok Sabha, Vidhan Sabha in India, House of Commons in UK, etc. Now, features of direct elections. more democratic. Eligible voters have wider choice to elect their representatives directly, and it provides for direct relationship between the voter. Sorry, there is a typing mistake there. Between the voter and their representative. Responsive. Since there is direct relationship between voters and representatives, they are responsive to the needs and aspirations of the people. Creates political awareness. In the direct election, voters come in direct contact with their representatives, and voters gather information through mass media and print media about political parties, their manifesto, and about their candidate. Selection of eligible candidates. The voters test the capacities and capabilities of the candidates and finally elect them. Public relationship. In view of the forthcoming elections, representatives keep regular contact with the constituency and the people. So all these are the features of direct election. Now let us move on to the next topic, that is indirect election. The next topic is indirect election. So what is indirect election? Where does indirect election happens? So let us see. It is another method of election where voters elect a group of members in the first instance. So here what happens in indirect election? Voters, they elect a group of members in the first instance. See, if you think direct election, in direct election, voter directly selects their representative. There are no intermediaries. Voter is there, they select their representative. But in indirect election, voter, it happens in two stages. In first stage, voter elects a group of members. Okay, voter elects a group of members in the first instance, and this forms an electoral college. Okay, electoral college. This electoral college is an intermediary body. Intermediary body. And this intermediary body later they elect their representatives. They elect representatives. Okay, so voters, they elect a group of members in the first instance, and this forms an electoral college. This electoral college acts as an intermediary body, that is in between. It acts as an intermediary body, and they later select their representatives. So this form is called as indirect election. So where does this kind of elections happen? Where does this where does this kind of indirect elections happen? So this kind of indirect election happens when there is a situation when they have to elect the President of India. So example of indirect election, we can say the President of India, USA. They are elected through electoral college. So electoral college, we said, is an intermediary body. First voters elect a group of members, that is electoral college, that is an intermediary body, and they select representatives. So here when selecting President of India, USA, etc., they are elected through this electoral college. Now who are the members of this electoral college? It consists of representatives of people. Representatives of people. Okay, so that is these representatives of people together, that group forms an electoral college, and this electoral college later selects the President of India or elects the President of India and USA. The members of Rajya Sabha and members of State Legislative Council are indirectly elected by the people. Now what are, so here Rajya Sabha members and of the State Legislative Council are indirectly elected by, are also indirectly elected by the people. So all those are the places where indirect election happens. So that is the difference between direct election and indirect election. Now let us see what are the features of indirect elections. What are the features of indirect elections? So features of indirect election. As we studied the features of direct election, similar way there are some features for indirect election. So the first feature of indirect election is selection of the best candidates. Okay, the first feature is selection of the best candidates. See, in this method, candidates are elected by a group of people. So candidates are elected by some intelligent voters. Okay, candidates are selected by some intelligent voters, and people elect their representatives to the electoral college. So in the first stage, people elect a representative, and this group forms an electoral college. That is the first stage. In the second stage, what happens is, second instance, these representatives judiciously elect final representative. Okay, so this electoral college later elects final representative, that is representative of legislature or head of the nation. So it is a two-stage procedure, and it is an the intelligent voters select the best of the candidates through this two-stage procedure. So in this method, candidates are elected by intelligent voters, and people elect their representative to the electoral college first, and this electoral college later judiciously elect their final representative, that will be the representative of legislature or the head of the nation, like president of India, president of USA, etc. So that is the first feature of indirect election, that is selection of the best candidates. Now the second feature is prevents unhealthy campaign. Prevents unhealthy campaign. Okay. In order to avoid all sorts of evil, see, in direct election, these kind of things will happen, that is propaganda, campaigning, and all those things will happen. But in indirect election, it avoids all sorts of evils like dirty propaganda tricks, instigation of people for petty issues, dividing them, and all these kind of unhealthy campaigning things are prevented in this indirect election. In the election of President of India, the average voters are kept outside, but only elected members of both the houses of the parliament participate. So only selected members, only selected people can participate in all these indirect elections. So they keep all the average voters are kept out, and they keep elected members of both the houses of the parliament to participate. So this helps in preventing unhealthy campaign. So that is the second feature of indirect election. Now the third feature of indirect election is peaceful voting. See, usually in direct election, every time it may not be peaceful voting. So in indirect election, there is no scope for illegal activities or fights during election. No scope for illegal activities or fights during election. And the elections are conducted according to well-defined norms and values. There will be well-defined norms and values according to which elections will happen in these indirect elections. So peaceful voting will happen. There is no scope for illegal activities or fights during election, and the elections are conducted with well-defined norms and values. So that is the third feature of indirect election, that is peaceful voting. Now the fourth feature of indirect election is there is little scope for emotions. Little scope for emotions. See here, the elected representatives, they are not carried away by passion or sentiment. So there are no sentiments, or they are not carried away by passion or emotions during the time of election, because they are not like an average voter. So these elected representatives, the higher level leaders, are elected by the people's representatives. So they are selected with a sense of responsibility. So there is little scope for all emotions and all these petty things during indirect election. So there is these elected representatives are not carried away by passions or sentiments or emotions, and these higher level leaders are elected by people's representative with a sense of responsibility. Now the fifth and the last feature of indirect election is it is suitable for developing nations. Developing nations. See, since a majority of voters normal voters, maybe they are ignorant, or they are not educated, or they are small groups of politically, so they are not much educated regarding all these things. What happens is a small group of politically educated and wise voters are there, means they elect their responsible and public spirited representatives. So for developing nation, what happens is the normal average voter may be ignorant or they may not be that educated. In this situation, what happens is in indirect election, the small group may be politically educated, and they will be wise voters. They can elect responsible, public spirited representatives. So this method is actually suited for developing nations. So all these are the features of indirect elections. So let us just go through the points which we have studied till now. Indirect election. It is another method of election where voters elect a group of members in first instance to form an electoral college as an intermediary body to elect representatives. Example, the President of India and USA are elected through electoral college, which consists of the representatives of people. The members of Rajya Sabha and members of State Legislative Council are indirectly elected by the people. Features of indirect election. Selection of best candidates. In this method, candidates are elected by the intelligent voters. People elect their representatives to the electoral college, and at the second instance, who in turn judiciously elect final representatives of legislature or head of the nation. Prevents unhealthy campaign. It avoids all sorts of evils like dirty propaganda tricks, instigation of people for petty issues to divide them. Example, in the election of President of India, the average voters are kept outside, but only elected members of both the houses of parliament participate. Peaceful voting. In this method, there is no scope for illegal activities or fights during the election. The elections are conducted according to well-defined norms and values. Little scope for emotions. Elected representatives are not carried away by passions or sentiments, can be influenced like an average voter. The higher level leaders are elected by the people's representatives with a sense of responsibility. And the fifth point, suitable to developing nations. Since majority of voters are ignorant and not educated, small groups of politically educated and wise voters elect responsible and public-spirited representatives. So all these were the features of indirect election. So two methods of election, direct election and indirect election. Now just let us go through some question answers regarding these topics. What is direct election? In this system, all the eligible voters of the nation directly elect their representatives through secret ballot without any intermediaries. Give an example for direct election. Lok Sabha in India. What is indirect election? It is another method of election where voters elect a group of members in the first instance to form an electoral college as an intermediary body to elect their representative. Give an example for indirect election, the President of India election. Explain the features of direct election. The points are explained under the topic features of direct election. Explain the features of indirect election. Same way I have explained all the points under the topic features of indirect election. So I hope you have understood all the points regarding direct election and indirect election very clearly. And here you can see one more question, that is differentiate between direct and indirect election. So both the elections features you have to write as an answer for this question. That is, you have to write what is direct election and its features, and then you have to write what is indirect election and its features. So all these are the points, important questions regarding these topics. So I hope you have understood all the points very clearly. In case of any doubts, you can ask in the comment section. And also, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Your likes and shares will be of a great encouragement for me to make more and more videos. So I hope to see you all soon in the coming video. Thank you for watching.